Hare Krishna. So we are going to start today Chaturdash Adhyay, 14th chapter, the three modes of material nature. Tray Gun Vibhag Yoga. This is a very powerful chapter. So let's get into the next slide. So this chapter has 27 verses, and the flow of those verses goes like this. The first 13 verses are talking about conditioning of the soul by material desires. So how soul are conditioned and acting in different modes due to desire that they have. And then from 14 to 18 talks about effects of the conditioning by these modes. So what are the effects of those conditioning in terms of uh, their results, their destination, and basically goal of this chapter is to help us become gunatit, cross these three gunas. And when we say that transcendental activity, that really refers to the stage where we are engaged in certain activity, but that is not that's not basically affected by one of the guna. So pure bhakti or 100% when we act in bhakti, we are basically acting in transcendental stage, and that is beyond guna. Also, as long as we are impacted, as long as we are affected by gunas, we still have some lower swabhava, lower emotion is there. I mean, bhakti also is a very exalted, very matured, high class emotion. So but that emotion is for Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it's matured emotion. But as long as we are impacted by these gunas, the emotion that we have is still some tinge of puja, love, pratishtha, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. All of these names you can give. We are not in a stage where we are acting for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So why right after chapter 13, which is titled as the nature, the enjoyer and consciousness, we are getting into chapter 14? Because in chapter 13, we learn about Kshetragya and Kshetra. Kshetra refers to field of activity, and Kshetragya refers to soul and super soul. So soul is Kshetragya, and soul has Kshetra, the body. And with that body, we extend our field of activity, and then we act in accordance or against of Prakriti. So Prakriti is basically nothing but composition of these three guna. So right after knowing the Kshetra and knowing the Kshetragya, and this chapter, verse number 20 and 20, 19 and 20 and 21, talks about Prakriti. So Krishna is saying that the knower of the Kshetragya, which is soul and super soul, they are eternal. At the same time, Prakriti is also eternal. And both Kshetragya and Prakriti, they come in existence and then they go out of existence at the time of annihilation at due course of time. But both Kshetragya and Prakriti are eternal. So multiple times Kshetragya as a soul get opportunity to come in contact with Prakriti. And this has been many times mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam in many contexts. In fact, all of the Bhagavad Veda, exalted devotees, they are one way or other way asking this question, either to exalted devotee, such as Parikshit Maharaj is asking with Sukdev Goswami, or Mother Dehavuti is asking Kapil Dev, or later we see that sons of Rishabdev also asking, Rishabdev. And also Prahlad Maharaj talks about this Aham and Mameti. So this, topic very frequently comes. And this guna, we have to understand this guna. It's very, very important. And you will see in the very beginning of this chapter, first two verses, Krishna is talking about, and he is basically saying that how important it is for conditioned soul to know about this guna. And this knowledge is very, very powerful, because only by having this knowledge, the conditioned soul can aspire to become gunatita, can aspire to cross the domain or jurisdiction of these three modes of material nature. So very important chapter, very, very important chapter. Karta hamiti manyate. One of the reasons that we all are trapped in the material world is that we think that we are the doer. But in fact, very beautiful picture here you can see that these three modes, these three, beautiful lady here, Satoguna, Rajoguna in the middle, Tamoguna at the other side, or the one who are basically conducting under the guidance of the Supreme Lord and letting things, move. Also, I like that picture because this is very clearly showing that demigods are in the mode of goodness, and in mode of goodness, they are having their own thing, and then normal human beings are driven by desire, lust to achieve something in the material world, and they are in the mode of passion. And then the lower animals here, lower living being who have no knowledge, they are completely in darkness, they are acting in complete ignorance, and they are in the mode of ignorance. So this chapter will explain these few things to us. First, it will help us understand what are these modes of material nature and how they work. What are these modes of nature? How do they work? And how they bind the living entity. And if the living entity are bound, if the entities are bound, how they can crossover, how they can come out of this binding. And the solution is given that by engaging in devotional service in Krishna Bhakti, one can come out the binding of these material modes. So the very first verse, Sri Bhagwan Vacha, the Lord Himself said, Pram Bhuyah Parvakshami Jnananam Jnanautamam Yajgyatva Munayah Sarve Param Siddhimito Gataha. So, Param Bhuya Pravakshami. Again, I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom. Jnananam Jnanam Uttamam. This is topmost Jnana of all the knowledge. Yajgyatva Munayah Sarve. By knowing this knowledge, all the sages, all the saintly person, Sarve Param Siddhi Mito Gataha. They all have perfected their life. So, this is the beauty of that knowledge. Then, second verse talks about Idam Jnanam Upasritya Mamsa Dharmyamagataha Sharge Yapi Nopajayante Pralaya Na Vyathanti Cha. Idam Jnanam Upasritya. Very clear. By taking shelter of this knowledge, Mam Sa Dharmya Magataha. One can attain same nature. Sarge api nopajayante. One is free from the repeated birth and death. Parlaya na bethanti cha. Does not take birth again in universal creation or experience the pain of death at the time of dissolution. The word pralaya is being used here. So living being, is coming and going. But once we understand this science, then we are not going to take birth again and again, and will be liberated. We'll attain the spiritual abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these two verses, Krishna has given the glorification of the knowledge about these modes of material nature. Then how Jiva comes in contact with the Prakriti, that is mentioned in next two verses. Mam yonir mahad brahma tasmin garva dadhamyaham sambhavah sarvabhutanam tatto bhavati bharata. So the Lord impregnates Prakriti, the material nature or Prakriti. Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbha dadhamyaham. This material nature or Prakriti is the womb that I impregnate, making possible the birth of all jivas. So right after this, Krishna will say that I am the seed-giving father, and this material nature is compared as womb, and Krishna says that I impregnate, and then from that all other living being comes. So we talked about this concept in previous chapter also, because in previous chapter also there is a discussion about the nature, and here also we are talking about prakriti. So how Krishna impregnates nature, we talked about it, and I'm sure that you have that concept clear. But what I'll do is that in next one or two slide, I'll just a little bit rephrase it, or maybe re-emphasize it so that it becomes clear to all of you. So basically, prakriti, this prakriti is coming because of the glance, because of the desire of Lord. Nothing exists without desire of the Supreme Lord. So we have talked about that so many times, that this pradhana is basically unmanifested state of the material element. It's unmanifested. An example is given that you have you have so many parts, okay, but when those parts are manifested, they are there, but they are not good for anything, or there is nothing that you can do from that unmanifested part. so so that is basically that unmanifested part of the prakriti is pradhana. And then when Lord, as Karnadaksai Vishnu, when he looks at it, then everything agitates and starts becoming active. Okay, so that active stage is Mahatattva. So Mahatattva is the active stage, and from there, creation begins. So the very prime, very fundamental element of the creation is Mahatattva. And Mahatattva get impregnates when Lord glance at it. And then from there, basically, from his pore, all the universes are coming. And then in each universe, again, Karnadaksai Vishnu expand as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and then he basically fills that universe with half salt water, which is called Garbha ocean. And then he goes there and he lies down on that Garbha ocean. And then from his navel, this lotus stem comes, and then from Brahma comes, and all of that happens. The whole material, so on the material world, there are basically three. We said that triloka. There are three planetary system. Okay, so all these three planetary systems that we are talking about, it's all above the Garbha ocean. Okay, which is called Bhumandala. Okay, so Bhumandala is the middle of the universe, and then higher than Bhumandala is higher planetary system. The Bhuloka, Bhuarloka, Maharloka, Swargloka, Tapoloka, like that, all the way on the top, Satyaloka. And then lower than Bhumandala is Patal, Rasatal, Talatal, all the way, and then all the way in the bottom, there are 28 helix planet system. So I have, really studied that I have been studying it, and I have, so much information that I was not knowing. When I studied all of that, I thought, oh my gosh, this is like, if you share, it will take like maybe 2 or 3 days to just talk. It could be a good workshop. Just take, Bhumandala and then division of the Bhumandala and all of that. So if you really understand how the material creation has taken place, we'll know who the Lord is. Now, the importance of knowing this knowledge is to not act like as a jnani, not act like that, I have got it or I know it. Rather, know how powerful Lord is. It's very, very powerful, So how, and who we are, okay? Who the Lord is and who we are. Sometimes it appears, when we say that Human being also can have 75% of the qualities of the Lord, but that 25% is huge. So why I'm talking all of this? I'm talking all of this when we are reading this thing, when Krishna says that I impregnate this nature and from there all living being comes. Don't just take it a very simple statement. This statement is very, very deep, and by knowing the depth of that simple statement will help us be more God conscious, will help us understand more who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. Then, from basically Garbhodakshay Vishnu, Brahma comes, Shiva comes, all the, Lord Brahma's sons comes, and then the whole, living beings start coming into the form, and then to support each and every living being, Lord himself manifests as Shodakshay Vishnu, and then goes and lives in heart of Char and Achar, Sat and Asat, whatever is existing, Evam Evasam Eva Agre, whatever is existing here, Anyad Sad Asat Param, whatever it is, Sad and Asat Param, Krishna is saying that, it's all because of me. So all of us, whatever status or nature or intelligence we have, we all exist because of the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here are some other, I have gone through it. Here are some other information. So here is basically this cloud. Cloud is basically Pradhana, which is also called, causal. Causal. This causal concept is a little bit, different, very difficult to understand. But Biraja and Karna is two different things. I don't want to complex, don't want to make it too complex. So if somebody is looking from the earth, they see Biraja river. So Biraja river is the final boundary of the material universe, the universe in which we are lying. But above that universe, there is a cloud, and that's basically Karna cloud, causal ocean. And in that causal ocean, it's not the ocean of the water. Viraja is the river and water, but causal ocean is not water. It's basically cloud. And in that, Karnodakshai Vishnu lives with Lakshmi. So that's how this whole material existence comes into the place, starting from Mahatattva. All the elements slowly and slowly gets mixed up, and then this goodness and passion and ignorance comes. So Mahatattva is mostly in Sato and Rajo. In Mahatattva, the goodness and passion is dominant. But then when living beings are mixed into the Mahatattva, then they go with their Ahankar. And Ahankar is mostly in the Tamas. Okay, so when they come to the stage of Ahankar, then Sattva, Raja, or Tama, all these three guns are blended now in the Mahatattva. And then from there, it starts Karya Sakti, Karna Sakti, and then the Karta Sakti, all of that starts manifesting, and then the whole material world come into the existence. So also I wanted to highlight that who these gunas are. These gunas are coming from the top, and then as it comes down, it gets mixed up with additional gunas, and then all these three gunas basically finally start manifesting this entire material creation. Okay, so just to make this point clear, when Krishna is saying that Mami Yonir Mahad Brahma Tasmin Garbham Dadami Aham Dadhyam Aham, so Krishna is saying here that I impregnate this material nature, and then from that all living being comes. And then this famous beautiful verse comes in this chapter, verse number 4. Sarvayonisu kantaye murtayah sambhavanti ya tasam braha mahadiyonir aham bij pradapita. I don't know how much more clear information mankind need. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, as long as we are not exposed to this statement, most of the time many people are not exposed to this sublime instruction of Lord, where Lord is saying that, Tasam Brahma Mahadayonir Aham Bij Pradapita. I am the sweet giving Father. What more do we need to understand? The Prakriti is created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then the living being, Krishna is saying that I am the sweet giving Father. Sarva Yunishu Kontae, all species of life, ocean of Kunti, Murtaya Sambhavantiya, are made possible by birth. Tasham Brahm Mahadayonir, in this material nature, Mahadayonir, Aham Bij Pradapita, I am the seed giving Father. That's all. That's all we need to know. That's all we need to know. So Prabhupada, in the purport of verse number 3, gives a very good example that a scorpion lays its egg in a piles of rice. And sometimes it is said that the scorpion is born out of rice. But rice is not the cause of the scorpion. Actually, the eggs were laid by the mother. Similarly, the material nature is not the cause of the birth of the living entities. The seed is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they only seem to come out as products of material nature. Thus, every living entity, according to its past activity, has a different body created by this material nature. So that the entity can enjoy or suffer according to his past deeds. The Lord is the cause of all the manifestation of the living entities in this material world. So, such a beautiful purport, and the example of a scorpion in piles of rice is given. So, where is the room for atheism now? There is no room for atheism, but still, people will come and they will say that, no, we have come from here, we have come from there, we have come from nowhere. All of that mental speculation will continue going. But as a devotee, we don't have to get impacted by all of this nonsense. Rather, focus on the instructions of Guru Shastra and Sadhu. Guru Shastra Sadhu Vakya, Tinita Kariya Yakya. This is for us to align our life and our activities with the instructions of Guru Shastra and Sadhu and make our life perfect. So, in the next segment of verses, we are going to discuss how the material mode binds the pure jiva. So far we studied the beauty of this knowledge, the knowledge that we are going to gain. And then we also studied in 2 verses, Krishna very formally giving us the information that he is the cause. He is the seed-giving Father. He is the cause of this material world and also the residents of this material world, all the living beings. But then we are going to study how these living beings are now entrapped and acting with material nature. So verse number 5, the jiva's bondage under the spell of modes. Sattvam rajastamiti gunah prakriti sambhavaha nibaddhananti mahabaho dehe dehinam avayam. So sattvam rajas tama iti, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Guna, prakriti sambhavaha. These three gunas are produced of material nature. O mighty armed one, they bind the changeless living entity in the material body. So these gunas are like three ropes. That's what we are hearing here. And the living entities, which by nature has a uh, has a transcendental quality, but when they come to this material world, they get bound by this guna. So now let's see what are the impact of these different types of binding. Yatra sattva nirmalatatvat prakas kamanamayam sukshangena badhnati gyan sangena chanagha means sinless, so sinless. Agaha. So Krishna uses the word agaha here for Arjun. So tatra sattvam nirmalatatvat. The modes of goodness is the purest of the three modes. It is, so this is talking about sattva guna. Atra sattvam, this sattva guna. Atra means yeah, this. So this sattva guna is basically pure of all the three modes. It is illuminated and frees one from the sins and distress. Those situated in this mode become conditioned by the sense of happiness and knowledge, O sinless Arjuna. Arjun. I think I should say things, like we say in Sanskrit. Arjun. So very clearly here, don't think when we are saying that when we are in the purest mode, at sattvam nirmala tattvat, at sattvam, when we are in the mode of goodness, which Krishna is saying here is the purest of the three modes. But even in this mode, there is conditioning. And what is the conditioning? I highlighted that. The conditioning is that senses of happiness and knowledge. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam is a verse that says that Jnana Sattvam Karma Rajo Ajnanam Tamo Drishyate. Something like that, that wherever there is Jnana, you should know that Sattva Guna is prevailing. Whenever you see that furtive desire, desire to work very hard, you should know that Rajaguna is prevailing there. And whenever you see that there is a Jnana, you should know that Tamoguna is prevailing there. So this verse saying the same thing, that out of all the guna, Satoguna is purest, but the person who are in this guna, they are conditioned by the senses of happiness and knowledge. So then we'll talk about Rajoguna. Let's see what Krishna is saying about Rajoguna. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi Krishna sangam samudbhavam tani badhanati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. Beautiful. So the mode of passion is born of desire, attachment for the attained and longing for the unattained. Okay. Krishna Sangha Samud Bhavam. Rajo Ragatmakam Vidhi. Ragatmakam Raga attachment. So in the mode of Rajoguna, there is attachment for the attained. So whatever we have attained, we have attachment for wives, for husbands, for our house, for our position, for our designation, whatever we have done. And then there is Krishna, Krishna Sangha Samudbhavan. So Prabhupada here gives the translation, word by word translation of the word Samudvan, Samud, produced of, Sangha, Samud Bhavam, produced of, Nidhanati, binds, Kontya, ocean of Kunti, Karma Sangena, by association with the fruitive activity, Dehinam, the embodied. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, ocean of Kunti. And because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to the material fruitive actions. So, this is the symptom of one who are in the mode of Rajaguna. They have attachment for the attained, and they have Trishna for the one which is not attended. The mode of passion is also characterized by the attraction between man and women. And when the passion is increased, one develops hankering for material enjoyment and works very hard and become bound to his activities. The modern civilization, I'm reading purport. The modern civilization is considered to be advanced in the standard of the mode of passion. So the modern civilization is mostly in the mode of passion. Formerly, the advanced condition was considered to be in the mode of goodness. If there is no liberation for those in the mode of goodness, what to speak of those who are entangled in the mode of passion? So in the purport, Prabhupada was writing that the modern civilization is considered to be advanced in the standard of mode of passion. But in previous yuga, the advancement of the society was seen how the residents are more towards in the mode of goodness. But even in the mode of goodness, there is conditioning for the happiness and knowledge. And even in the mode of goodness, there is no liberation. What to talk about those who are in the mode of passion? So that's how this beautiful purport ends, or this verse 7. Very beautiful. So man and women and their relationship, Prabhupada, I just quoted that from this purport. The mode of passion is characterized by the attraction between man and women. Women has attraction for men, and man has attraction for women. This is called the mode of passion. And when the mode of passion is increased, one develops the hankering for material enjoyment. He wants to enjoy sense gratification. So I humbly request all of you kindly spend some time reading these purports very carefully and trying to basically develop some good understanding, conceptual understanding, not just for sake of knowing things for sake of writing the homework or anything like that. It should be studied again and again so that we can understand this thing very well. And what is the indication that we have understood it? When we start implementing it, when our acharan, our words, our behavior, when we are doing any one of these, kaya, mansa, and vachanam, when it's aligned with these teachings, we are advancing in the bhakti. That's how we can see. Not how flowery one can talk. That's not the symptom of advancement. The symptom of advancement is that how well we are applying these teachings and we are acting. Utility is the principle. So everything need to be harmonized and utilized. So I'll move to the next verse, and that verse is talking about tamoguna. तमस्तत्त्वज्ञानजं मोहनम सर्वदेहिनाम तमस्तत्त्वज्ञानजं विधि मोहनम सर्वदेहिनाम प्रमाद आलस्य निद्राभिष तनि बदनाति भारत प्रमाद आलस्य निद्राभिष तन बदनाति भारत. So know that the mode of darkness born of ignorance is the delusion of all embodied living entity. This mode binds the jiva with madness, pramada, alasya, laziness, nidra, sleep, O son of Bharata. So if one is mad about this material achievement, madness could be of different type. But if there is, and this madness comes when we think that karta hamiti manyate. Krishna, is saying in Gita, we'll read that. Oh Arjuna, leave everything on me, and by, just remembering me, you fight. So when this I am the doer mentality comes, prakriti kriya manani gune karmani sarvasya ahankar vimuratma karta hamiti manyate. This karta hamiti manyate in very beginning, in third chapter, Krishna spoke about it. Then this madness and laziness comes, and sleep is also mentioned here. So if we are not getting up early morning to chant our rounds and read Srimad Bhagavatam and start our sadhana bhakti very nice way, then we also have some bit of tamoguna too. So Krishna will tell basically in the next segment of the verses that how these gunas act together. So I'll go to verse number 9. Sattvam sukhe sanjayati rajah karmani bharata jnanam avritya tu tamaha pramade sanjayate yut jnanam avritya tamaha pramade sanjayatyut. So goodness conditions one to happiness. So all of these three guna, O son of Bharata, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness, passion conditions one to fruition, and ignorance covering one's knowledge binds one to madness. Okay, so all these three gunas are summarized here in this verse number 10. That how these three gunas are reflected in the behavior of a personality. Then in the next segment of verses, we are going to recognize the prominence of the mode. And verse number 10 is talking about that these modes are basically competing against each other, which means sometimes we have goodness prominent, sometimes we have passion prominent, sometimes we have ignorance prominent. So let me read this beautiful verse number 10. Rajastamascha bhibhuya satvam bhavati bharata rajah satvam tamasyaiva tamah satvam rajastatha. So rajastamascha bhibhuya satvam bhavati bharata rajah sattva tamasyaiva tamah sattvam Rajastatha. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the mode of passion and ignorance. O son of Bharat, sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times, ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for the supremacy. So these three modes are fighting, and sometimes we act in the mode of goodness, sometimes we act in mode of passion, and sometimes we act in mode of ignorance. So very simple understanding is that there is there is need to know what is good, what is good for us. So a man who is in the mode of goodness, he knows what is good, and then he does also. Okay, so a man who knows what is good for mankind, what is good for me, what is good for for our advancement, he knows and he does. So that's basically mode of goodness. But somebody knows what is what is good, but sometimes he does and sometimes he does not. Okay, then that is mode of passion. And somebody who does not know what is good and he never does anything good, then that person is in the mode of ignorance. Okay, so knowing but not acting does not get us to the mode of goodness. Rather, it still keeps us in the mode of passion. But if we know and we always act as per what we know, then we are in the mode of goodness. So these three gunas are competing against each other. So can somebody tell, if I want to always stay in the mode of goodness, what is one thing we should do? Anybody would like to share just anything? Just what one thing one should do if you want to stay always in the mode of goodness? We should associate with the people who are in the mode of goodness, because we are conditioning. What is the real meaning of the conditioning? The meaning of the conditioning is that we get impacted by the condition around it. That's conditioning. In air conditioning we feel cold, in heater we feel warm. So this is the conditioning. So as long as we are in the mode of guna, we are basically conditioned by the environment that we have around us. So if we want to stay always in the mode of goodness, because unless and until we don't come to the mode of goodness, we cannot transcend. We cannot go from tamoguna to suddha guna or rajoguna to suddha guna. The only way we can go from sattva guna to suddha sattva guna is that we constantly, steadily, without any without any up and down, we stay in the mode of goodness. Then we can go to Shuddha Sattva. Okay, there are some example in the Shastra that there is Kripa Siddha, there is Sadhan Siddha, but I'm not going to talk about that. But there are some example where by the mercy of Lord, when Lord does some specific Kripa to condition soul, then from Tamoguna also that person can transcend all these gunas and go completely in a pure bhakti. That's called Kripa Siddha. And Kripa Siddha is very, 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 very rare. And one of the example of Kripa Siddha is Jagai Madhai. Jagai Madhai got the benediction of the Mahaprabhu and Nityanand Prabhu, and he transcend all of this guna. But most of the time, we have to basically transcend this guna by our activity, by controlling our desire, and by knowing what is right, what is wrong. Slowly and slowly, slowly and slowly, we can come. So if we want to always stay in the mode of goodness, which is prerequisite to transcend, and develop the higher symptom of bhakti, when we constantly stay in the mode of goodness. This is a very powerful statement I'm saying. This is one of the notes that I have made on my diary, that I should, or we should always try to stay in the mode of goodness. Okay, by our ahar, by our bichar, by our words, by dealing with devotee. Sometimes people will recognize, sometimes not. It has nothing to do with how things are, happening, how people are perceiving you. But we should always make our endeavor to stay in the mode of goodness, because only by staying in the mode of goodness, one can transcend. So our activity, this chakra is very powerful, Krishna is saying also. So we should be watching, each and every time, where sometimes we act like, in mode of ignorance. Right away we should know that the symptoms that I am depicting is in the mode of goodness, or in the mode of ignorance, or in the mode of passion, and then help oneself to come to the mode of uh, goodness. So that's what basically this verse is teaching. And then Prabhupada has given very beautiful commentary. So please read the commentary of the verse number 10. I'll move to number 11. सर्वद्वारेषु देहोऽस्मिन् प्रकाश उपजायते ज्ञानं यदा तदा विधाति द्विविधं सत्त्वमृतयुत् सर्वद्वारेषु देहेऽस्मिन् प्रकाश उपजायते. So when mode of goodness increases, what happened? Sarvadwareshu dehevasmin prakasa upajayate. In the purport, the translation of this verse is that when the manifestation of goodness is experienced, all the 9 gates, and in this slide I'm writing 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostril, mouth, genitals, and anus, are illuminated by knowledge and happiness. So this is the stage of being in goodness. When one acts in perfect knowledge and lives all the time in happiness. Brahmbhut prasanatmana sochti na kangati. Sama sarveshu bhutesu mat bhakti labte param. Krishna is saying also in chapter 18 that na sochti na kangati, coming out of this duality. So at this point, at least, staying happiness means coming out of the duality, because these dualities are impact of the conditioning. So in proper knowledge, if one has crossed this duality, then he will be in happiness. Then I'll read the verse number 11. Lobha pravrittirarambha karmanamasham aspriha prajasyayatani jayante pivridhe bharatarshavah. O chief of Bharata, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, furtive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develops. So the symptoms of greed, furtive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develops when the mode of passion is dominant. Then we'll read about what happens if we are in the mode of ignorance. Aprakasho apravritasya pramado moha evacha tamashyatani jayante vivridhe kurunandana. When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Guru, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifested. So, so this basically section was sharing about what is the impact of the conditioning when we are conditioned, how when we are conditioned by this guna, how we act. So we saw that in series of verses 10, 11, 12, 13, that what happens, and what are the symptoms when we are in the mode of goodness, what are the symptoms when we are in the mode of passion, and what are the symptoms when we are in the mode of ignorance. So I'll just stop here, and then the remaining 14 verses I'll try to cover in next session, which is on next Saturday at the same time from 2 to 3. So thank you so much all for your participation, and thank you for listening. What can I say? I can say, yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Could we just go back to text 11? Because I'm just curious about, it talks about when the 9 gates in the body are when the symptom of goodness is illuminated in those 9 gates. So what does that just mean that you see only like you read scripture and you hear only a Krishna Katha, and you smell only the flowers or the food of prasadam that's been offered to Krishna, or is that, and you only eat
Yes.
prasad? Is that what that means?
Yes, yes. Vidya Vinay Sampane Brahmane Garbhastani.
Okay.
So yes. So what happens is that, like for example, right now, if we see with our eyes, we see based upon what a relationship I have with somebody. The members of our family appears more near and dear, to us.
Yep.
Or even, the devotee who are following, Hare Krishna ISKCON movement, we think that they are our own people. And the people who are not part of the society, they are not my own people. Sometimes we end up saying, oh, all of this Mayavadi, all these people are Mayavadi. I'm the only best now. So Krishna is saying, Kapil Dev also is teaching in the Sankhya philosophy to his mother, that as long as this thing is there, you have still eyes which is tinged with something.
Yeah.
Okay. So come to that stage where you are seeing, that's the symptom of the Utmadhikari, right? Utmadhikari is the perfect Gyan. So what he's seeing that nobody is not a devotee of Krishna.
Yep.
But I see, if you ask me, I can say that there are some people who are not the devotee of Krishna. But Utmadhikari says, no, who is in the world who is not serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but I'm the only one who is not serving. So higher Gyan, So likewise, their eyes develops, engaging and seeing the things as they are. They start seeing that, Ishvara Brahma Krishna Suchitananda Vigrahana Adiradir Govinda Sarvakaran. This is all Krishna. So likewise, his ears, he doesn't enjoy hearing the mundane dum dum doom doom this that. Rather, whatever time he has, he doesn't want to bear the kale. This is a symptom of the advancement. Out of 9 symptoms, one symptom is that he would not spend a single moment without engaging in devotional service. So likewise, nostrils, you said very well that it's engaged in taking the flower which is offered to Supreme Personality of Godhead. The mouth is always, eating the prasadam, not, nonsense food here and there. Likewise, genital is, not uncontrolled, and we are not using it to create unwanted progeny. Right?
Yep.
So likewise, everything is controlled and regulated, and it's engaged in service of Supreme Lord. And that's what our prayas is. Our prayas is that how we can slowly and slowly be 100% engaged. Because 100% engagement is real liberation. Mukti is not something that comes. I mean, there are people who think that, mukti means something very, very vague, and we get liberated when we leave this body and all of that. Very nicely in the third canto, chapter 33, purport of verse number, I think 10 or 11 or 12, Prabhupada is very nicely writing, very clearly he's saying that Mukti hitva swarupen abhivastita. This is the statement that Rishabdev Maharaj is giving to his son. Oh, my dear son, what is this liberation? All other designation that you have, hitva, reject it, swarupena abhivastita. Prabhupada is saying that once we are 100% engaged in service of Krishna, with this body, we are liberated. So that's what here it is. Once all of these 9 gates are illuminated, once we are in full wisdom, by the process of sadhana bhakti for sure, by studying Shastra, taking the mercy of the advanced devotee, then we are fully illuminated and situated in a stage where we are doing the things which are giving us the happiness. Knowledge, if one acts in knowledge, that knowledge brings happiness. That's another thing. If we are, at least if you are in the mode of goodness, it's not bad. It's granting happiness because we are acting in the knowledge. Okay, or happiness doesn't mean that living in a 5-story house or 10 cars. Happiness is antarmukhi, how internal feelings are. So one who is acting and is in the mode of goodness, he's in the knowledge and he's happy. So also those kind of supports and goes together. So thank you for asking that question, Prabhuji.
Great. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so if there is anything else, or we are good? Thank you so much. So
Prabhu, you are sending the homework?
Yeah, I'll send it, Prabhu. Yeah, Prabhu, I'll do it. I'll try to do it today or tomorrow, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you for reminding, Prabhu. Thank you so much, dear devotees. One thing that I would like to request is that every day, please read. You are not reading for somebody else. You are reading for yourself. My dear friends and devotee, please help ourselves. Okay, I'm not doing this course to teach you. I'm doing this course to learn myself. They say that the teacher is the best student. So I'm just trying to be a teacher, but I'm trying to learn also. We all so find a means to learn. This inertia that we have, and don't necessarily create artificial problem. Prabhu, I cannot do this because I have this. No, Prabhu, this type of thing. When I hear, it doesn't make me feel good, about whoever is saying it. We have the problem, and this problem is never going to go away. This will always stay with us. So kindly, stay whatever problem we are in, but have a nice routine, give some dedicated time every day, 1 hour, half an hour, 1 hour. This I will listen lectures, I will read Prabhupada's book, I will do some service. Things should be very regulated. I have to do this one, I'll do it. And so please give bhakti little bit more priority in your life, and make a serious attempt, make a very, very serious attempt. We all have problems. We cannot say that we have basically conquered this material mode. We cannot, but let's try our best. Let's make a best effort, and then learn Shastra and be yourself expert, and teach others. There are people who need this knowledge. Make yourself an instrument, Prabhu's Mataji's. So that's all I would like to inspire, that please, please, please help yourself and help others. We all have to do that same thing. So with that, I would like to chant the Vaishnava pranams. वंशकल्पातरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो संबल भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेम नंदी हरि हरि बोल।
Hari Bol.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Pranam.
Thank
Hari
you so
Hari
much,
Hari
Prabhu, for
Hari
the
Hare
wonderful
Krishna.
class.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Dandavat
Hari
Pranam.
Hari 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 Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna, Prabhu. Hare
Hari
Krishna.
Hari Hari Bol.